The Premier League is one of the most entertaining leagues to watch in the world. In this league, you won't celebrate a victory until the game is over, even if you are up.
Arsenal are ripping Newcastle United apart. It's dealt with. Toyota! Incredible!
Narrow victories and roar of draws are becoming more common than before. On top of that, one team may have a strong start to the season.
Can he work it onto that left foot? Going for the far corner!
Only to crumble a few months later.
Rudiger made an absolute mess of that. More terrible.
Winning the league has become increasingly difficult over the past 7 years. A team can destroy whatever team faces and show to everyone that no one can compete with it.
Inside. There's the cross, great ball, and there's a goal!
Until it meets the most league's feared opponent.
Foden, that's a brilliant goal from Foden!
This monster is no joke, destroys any team in its path and shows no mercy. If you truly want to win the Premier League today, you must understand that you must compete with this powerhouse in the title race. Premier League teams have never seen anything like the competition that Man City has brought to the table. If you have any doubt, ask Copyr's 2020 Liverpool team and they will tell you the complete tale. At the start of a new Premier League season, many fans are both excited and curious to see how good and improved the teams are. And on August 5th, 2022, we had the opportunity to kick off the season with a showdown between Crystal Palace and the best club in London. And our small club did not disappoint.
Opening goal of the season.
The squad appeared to be sharp and promising. With William Saliba putting on a monster performance in the team leading the league, Arsenal fans were thrilled with a Friday night win. However, they had a few concerns with the team. For the team to do anything special that season, they felt that only a few signings were needed, and Arteta had something to say regarding the transfer window. Every Arsenal fan was happy and relieved after Arteta's statement. They were now confident that Arteta was doing everything in his power to bring back Arsenal to the top. In just 3 games into the season, Arsenal warned other English clubs that they needed to pay attention and that the minimum position they could achieve in the league standings was top 4.
Gabriel Martinelli, it's safe, but Odegaard's there.
All kudos to the Arsenal recruitment team for believing in Gabriel Jesus over Vlahovic. Gabriel Jesus was showing that he was worth every penny. Next, Arsenal had fixtures that, in the opinion of any Premier League fan, were a first test for Arteta and his squad to see how much they had improved. Fulham, Aston Villa, and Manchester United were among the teams scheduled to play. For some people, this was a challenging set of fixtures for Arsenal because of how tough Fulham was to beat and how Erik ten Hag was starting to work his magic in Manchester United.
Takes a touch and rolls it home!
Despite a poor start to the season. For Arsenal fans, this was an easy one. There was no reason to be afraid of United because of their one decent game against a washed-up Liverpool team. Manchester United, on the other hand, couldn't wait to teach Arsenal a lesson, since they knew that by the time they played them, Casemiro and a handful of other new players would have been integrated into the squad. In the 55th minute of the first test game, Mitrovic showed Arsenal that they were not as strong as they believed.
Gabriel's in trouble here. Mitrovic is in and scores.
But Arteta showed everyone that he was not messing around.
Ball played on. Here's Odegaard, deflects and in!
Arsenal defeated Fulham 2-1, getting 12 points from 4 games. At this point, Premier League clubs were scared and had no idea how they were going to deal with Arsenal becoming a threat to any side in the league. Manchester United had to act quickly to release Anton from Ajax in order to stop Arsenal's winning streak. Arsenal did not stop there. In the following game, they trashed Aston Villa. At this point, United had no choice but to stop them or to suffer the same fate as the other clubs. On September 4th, 2022, Arsenal failed the test. Manchester United ended Arsenal's winning streak by defeating them 3-1 at Old Trafford. Man United taught Arsenal a lesson. They showed that winning 5 games in a row at the start of the season does not make you a title contender or tough opponent. This defeat changed how people perceived Arsenal. For them, Arteta and his squad were not that great. They were just beating teams from the bottom half of the table, and when they had chance to play a top 6 team, they absolutely flopped. It was a disappointing loss for Arsenal, but the performance aside from the results revealed many positive aspects of the team. Although Arsenal lost, we cannot deny the fact that they were the better team in the game. Arsenal dominated the game more than Manchester United, but Manchester United were more efficient in front of the goal. Despite the loss, it was still reasonable to believe in the Arsenal team, given Manchester City have not yet faced a top-tier team and it was still not the top of the league. Manchester United fans, however, wouldn't find words to show their gratitude to Ajax for giving them Erik ten Hag, Antony, and the Butcher. It was time to see how Arsenal could handle fixtures that included some Europa League football and see if they could still remain at the top of the league. Some had predicted that Arsenal could enjoy their last time at the top of the league because they would drop back to 5th or 7th place by the end of these fixtures. But Arsenal shocked everyone by beating the majority of the teams they faced, drawing once and losing only one. What was really surprising was how they deservedly defeated teams like Tottenham and Liverpool. Anyone who doubted Arsenal's status as a legitimate title contender had to embrace the fact that Arsenal was by far the best team in the Premier League. Arsenal's winning streak continued, and on November 6, 2022, they humiliated Chelsea in front of their supporters. Everyone was shocked by Arsenal's remarkable run from the beginning of the season until November. Everyone thought Arteta had planned to finish in the top 4, but what he did was unexpected. Nobody could deny the fact that Arsenal's position at the top of the league was fully deserved, and that Arteta did wonders for the squad. Some people started to compare this team to the 2020 Liverpool team that beat Manchester City for the championship, while others thought it was crazy to compare Arsenal to the Liverpool team because the Liverpool team was miles ahead of the City team and they could afford to lose points and still have a good chance of winning the league, something that wasn't the case for the Arsenal team. They believed that Arsenal would need to get 90 points or more to compete with Manchester City. Some believed that while it was obvious that Arsenal was at the top of the league, they would miss this chance since that was the Arsenal they were familiar with. For Arsenal fans, those concerns were out of question since they believed that the season would be similar to Leicester City's in 2016 when they started with a few point lead. Everyone expected them to drop points, but they kept going and won the title. It was understandable for Arsenal fans to think this way given this season, but it was also important to remember that Chelsea was also on top in November the season before, but ended up fighting for 4th place at the end of the season. We headed to the World Cup break with Arsenal leading the league table, something nobody would have thought of. The remaining questions were as follows. Would Arsenal not throw away this opportunity after the World Cup? Were not they going to collapse in the second half of the season? Could those inexperienced players handle the pressure when things started to get tougher, especially in February, April and May? All of these questions were going to be answered by Arsenal after the World Cup break. After thrilling and entertaining World Cup, Premier League fans were excited that the league was back in action, particularly Arsenal fans who couldn't wait to see the club pick up where they left off and continue to dominate the league. But apart from that, Arsenal fans had a little bit of concern too. During the World Cup, Arsenal fans received this bad news.
Gabriel Jesus picking up that injury, which will keep him out for up to 3 months during the World Cup, Jules. For
them, it was time to find Gabriel's replacement, or Edin Keita would have to step up. They were afraid that the team's upcoming fixtures, which included Newcastle, a team that was not messing around, and Brighton, would make things tough. The only thing that rival fans were still waiting for was Arsenal's downfall. But Arsenal scared everyone and showed them that they could win the league. They defeated Brighton 4-2 and drew against Newcastle. Arsenal didn't stop there. In the next 2 games, they dominated the North London derby and got their revenge on Manchester United to the point where Manchester United fans who couldn't find words to thank Ajax for offering them Anthony in the previous match were furious and wished Ajax could come and get him back. Arsenal was amazing that season, reaching 50 points in 19 games. Everyone was convinced at the moment that Arsenal was going to win the Premier League and that it was no longer a dream. It was now up to Manchester City to either stop them or lose the league. In the Premier League, the upcoming months are consistently intense and spectacular. These are the months where fixtures are extremely tough from the start to the end of the title race. Arsenal could not afford to lose. The energy was so high and were prepared to face anyone who came their way. However, Everton had a little present for Arsenal to begin the month of February.
Ramsdale stays on his line and Everton nets through James.
Everton stunned Arsenal with a 1-0 win. This was the game Arsenal was supposed to win, but they were surprised. There was nothing to worry about for Arsenal because Harry Kane ruined Manchester City's chance to close the gap on Arsenal to just 2 points. For Arsenal, there was no time to waste by thinking too much on Everton's defeat. Our attention was focused on the next game. But Brentford had one more surprise for Arsenal.
That was going to be a goal. Ivan Toney scored.
For Arsenal, this was not a good sign. The players began to feel a little pressure, but there was no time to panic because the focus was on their first encounter against a true contender. 1 week after beating Manchester City, Tottenham delivered this performance against Leicester City.
And then a shot comes in from Mendy.
But our eyes were on the upcoming showcase between Arsenal and Manchester City. Unfortunately for Arsenal, Manchester City gave them their first welcome to a league title race moment.
It's a terrible back pass and City will score, and it's incredible.
Everyone was confused about what was going on with Arsenal. Their recent performance had been poor. Failing to Everton, drawing with Brentford and losing to Manchester City was not good news for title contenders. Some people thought that if Arsenal continued to make these mistakes, they might not even win the league. This time, they got a message. The real race for the title had just begun. After this welcome to the title race moment, it was time for Arsenal to go to war. Arsenal responded with a big win over Aston Villa. They kept on beating everyone in the Premier League. They did not lose a single game in March, keeping their title hopes alive. But there were continuous signs that Arsenal was not good on the big stage.
Ramsdale's being tested. It's a sensational goal.
Here's what I mean, guys. Arsenal was doing well in the Premier, but when it mattered the most, they kept showing a weak mentality. They were eliminated by Sporting Lisbon in the Europa League. Arsenal didn't care much about the elimination. They saw it as an opportunity to focus more on winning the Premier League. With only now 10 games remaining, Arsenal was on the verge of winning the Premier League. Some people believe that if Arsenal could come out of these fixtures and remain at the top of the league, they would win the Premier League. So others believe that Manchester City would also find it more challenging due to the upcoming crazy schedule, which included a tough Champions League matchup against Bayern Munich. Every time an Arsenal fan saw these remaining fixtures, the heart beat. It was a war. The final battle was up to Arsenal to win or lose. Arsenal started with a win over Leeds United, but what happened the next game was a complete disaster. Before I tell you what happened, I myself had no idea what was going on. What Arteta and his guys witnessed at Anfield was totally scary. Arsenal was lucky to escape Liverpool with a draw after taking a 2-0 lead area in the game. Manchester City, on the other hand, was not dropping any points and might cut the gap to 3 points if they won their game in hand. After that, West Ham United also did this.
Shoots and scores. Jared Bowen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you couldn't find words to describe what Arsenal was witnessing. Arsenal was no longer going to fool people to believing they had a chance of winning the Premier League. Dropping points like that and yet having to play Manchester City at home was a complete failure. It was now Manchester City's turn to finish the job.
Into the back of the net! What a sensational goal!
Manchester City trashed Arsenal 4-1 and had the opportunity to go 4 points ahead of Arsenal if they won their 2 games in hand. Every English crowd witnessed how scary Manchester City can be when it chases you down. It was a complete defeat, disappointing and heartbreaking for Arsenal. To make matters worse, they got destroyed by Manchester City to the point where they couldn't keep up the energy in the last days of the season.
Lines up another strike. Beaten away by Ramsdale, but not fully clear. And Estepinian.
Some believe that Arsenal players' lack of maturity and experience led to their downfall. Others believe that Mikel Arteta's technical decisions may also have been involved, especially after they blew a 2-0 lead twice. They believe that the way he substituted his goal scorers and captain, leaving guys who were invisible in the game, contributed to this downfall. But we can all agree and compliment Arteta for what he achieved considering the squad he had. He made significant improvements for Arsenal. Regardless of his failure to win the title, Arsenal fans were proud of it. After Arsenal accepted their fate that they would not win the Premier League and witnessed the City's end-of-season takeover, it was time for Manchester City to finish the job and win the Premier League for the 3rd time in a row.
Alvarez will score here, and City take advantage.
What was really amazing was how Manchester City handled the pressure of these difficult fixtures and went on to destroy everyone in the Champions League. Now that the Premier League season was over, with Manchester City winning the championship, Arsenal finishing 2nd, Manchester United returning to play UCL football, and the Liverpool qualifying to play in the Europa League, people were wondering what was next for Arteta and his team. The answer was simple. It was not over. This was just a trade-off what was going to happen in the future for Arsenal. They were ready to come strong next season and take over this Manchester City team.